Hello everyone, this is Alex from Bad Decks Play Badly. This is kind of a bonus deck this week. I did mention at the end of my 5th match for the Force Mage deck that I was going to make a Lizard deck. This is a challenge put to me by my friends from work. One of them is very fond of lizards. He owns quite a few. He hopes to, make money out breeding them. So we thought it'd be funny if I made a lizard deck. Unfortunately in Magic there's a lot of bad lizards. A lot of them are just draft fodder, just get a 4/4 for 4 mana in green, a lot of stuff like that. So it is actually quite difficult. However, I think I have got a list here which could make lizards work. I'd like to know what you think. It's going to be quite fun to play, I think. It's very control-y, which is the complete opposite of what I thought I'd do with lizards. As you can tell, it's in the Simic colours. Probably my favourite colours. Not sure, maybe my favourite colours. But I do like Simic. Okay, I'm going to basically take you through the deck and just tell you how it works. So, the lizards we do have, I've got a 4 of Bounding Krasis. It's got Flash. When Bounding Krasis enters battlefield, you may tap or untap target creature. So it's a good blocker early game. Can tap down our opponent's creatures. It kind of buys us a lot of time. It's a pretty solid creature. I think it was quite good in its standard when it was round, and I quite like that creature. Also, the other lizard we have, Frilled Mystic. It's got Flash, 3/2, and when it enters battlefield, I may counter a target spell. So it's a counter spell on a body, and more importantly, it's a lizard, an elf lizard wizard. So that's one of our lizards. And finally, we only actually have 9 lizards in this deck, but it's enough to call it a lizard deck, I think. And this is one you won't see very often. See if I can get that a bit bigger for you so you can have a look. There you go. Okay. Ludovic's Test Subject. Okay, it's a lizard egg. It's Defender 0/3. It costs 2 to put down, and with 1 and a blue mana, put a hatchling counter on Ludovic's Test Subject. Then if there are 5 or more hatchling counters on it, remove all of them and transform it. And it transforms into a 13/13 with trample lizard horror. That's awesome. No one plays this. The downside of it is that it obviously you need a lot of mana invested to make it work. But I've got a way around that. So how do we get mana to do that? We'll start with 4 Birds of Paradise. Add 1 mana of any colour. Self-explanatory. It's not a lizard, I know, but I guess lizards came, well, birds came from lizards. Well, they came from dinosaurs, so I'm going to count it as an honorary lizard. We're going to have 4 Explorers. You may play an additional land this turn and draw a card. Very good. Helps us ramp, helps us draw a card, keeps sifting through our deck. Grove Spiral, it's kind of like Explorer as well. Draw a card, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. The good thing is this is an instant as well, which is very good for us. 2 more non-lizards, Eternal Witness. It just brings back something from our graveyard to our hand. With a lot of Explorers and Grove Spirals, it's nice to have. Okay. And this is where it gets a bit spicy. Leyline of Anticipation. So if Leyline of Anticipation is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on a battlefield. Okay, why do we want it on a battlefield? You may cast spells as though they had Flash. A lot of our spells do have Flash or instant speeds, but you'll see why in a minute, why it's very important for us to have Flash. Which, one of the main reason is Wilderness Reclamation. So at the beginning of your end step, untap all lands you control. Okay, so this allows us, let's say we've got 4 lands down, tap for 4, and then we untap in our end step and attack again. So that's 8 mana on, turn 4? Well, turn 5 technically. Well, could be 10 then. But unfortunately we have to use everything in our end step to maximise the land that we're tapping, which is exactly why we have Leyline of Anticipation. I could play an instant speed spell, but I found that in green and blue the best X spells where you get to maximise how much mana you're putting into them, are in fact sorceries. So I'll show you what my payoffs are going to be at the moment. Okay, so we're going to have 3 copies of Blue Sun Zenith. This essentially, along with Wilderness Reclamation, we can draw so many cards and we just get so much advantage, and we can just go along and win the game. We have 1 copy of Mass Manipulation, gain control of X target creatures and or planeswalkers. Usually this is quite expensive and most decks wouldn't run it, but with Wilderness Reclamation, the amount of Growth Spirals, Explorers, we have so much mana to use where we can essentially steal pretty much their entire board state and just go on and win. And it also hits Planeswalkers, which is very nice. And this is my favourite, Gelatinous Genesis. So create XX green ooze creature tokens. So with Wilderness Reclamation, this can be brilliant. We could, essentially get, 6/6/6s, and because of Leyline, we get to play it in our end step, which is great. And this is kind of the payoff. This is kind of what the win con is, because we'll be drawing so many cards from Blue Sun Zenith. We should hit this eventually, and we could be tapping for. We could be tapping for 12 land, 14 land. Can you imagine 7/7s? I don't think many opponents can deal with that. And it's kind of our win con. And I think it's going to be interesting. I've been looking for an excuse to play this card for a while. I've had it in my collection. It's just so expensive. But if we do have the land for it, it will be fantastic. Also, with all this land, I did mention Ludwig's test subject. It may cost 2 to put a hatchling counter on it. But to put 5 counters on it, which is going to cost us 10 land overall, isn't going to be an issue in this deck, purely because we have so much ramp and so much just land ready to use. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing. I think I'll tell you about the lands we're using. These are budget lands. You wouldn't expect anything less of me. So we've got 4 Botanical Sanctums. Yeah, it's battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands, which is good because most of our Explorers and Birds of Paradise for ramping, it's going to be in turn 1 and 2. We have 3 forests, 3 islands, very basic. We have 2 copies of Lumbering Fall. It's nice just to have 1 or 2 creature lands. They may come in tapped, but it's nice just to always have a backup if we get Raft or something. It's nice, and it does have Hexproof, so control decks will have a hard time dealing with it. Simic Growth Chamber. Okay, so this comes into play tapped, and we have to return a land we control to our hand. However, we can negate the downside of it coming in tapped because of Wilderness Reclamation. So we do play this tapped, and then in our end step we'll untap again, and we should be able to use that 2 mana then. So it's actually very little downside in its deck. So it's actually a perfect budget land to put in it. We're going to have 4 copies of Temple of Mystery. This is just another budget one. It does come in tapped, unfortunately, but I do like having to scry. And a place that's very cheap. And as I said, scrying is very useful. We like any excuse to filter for our deck, really. And then 4 copies of Yavimaya Coast. And like previous ones, it comes in untapped. It costs us 1. It's going to cost us 1 damage, but we will get the mana we want on turn 1, 2, and 3, and whenever really. So it's perfect. I'm intrigued to see how this deck goes. I'm not. I haven't done any play testing with it, so I will be going in blind. As I said, this is a bonus episode, so I will try and put the amount of work in I usually do, but we'll see how it goes. I've got quite an interesting sideboard, starting with Helix Pinnacle. Well, we're going to have so much land. This has got Shroud, and you can pay X, put X tower counters on Helix Pinnacle. Okay? At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 100 or more tower counters on Helix Pinnacle, you win the game. So this is very good if the opponent's got a lot of Wraths, or if we can get this maybe on turn 1 underneath a control deck. It's just a really cool alternate win condition if they can just deal with our creatures. and I would love to get a win with it. I'll see how it goes. I'm not sure. We can also play. Remember, we can play everything here with flash because of our leyline, which is very, very handy. Sandworm Convergence. In this deck, 8 mana is just not that big a deal. We can play it with flash, and creatures with flying can't attack me or planeswalkers I control. And at the beginning of your end step, create a 5/5 green worm token creature. So it's another good one against control, where if they can't deal with it, we just get worm after worm after worm, and I don't care how many counters you've got, how many, I don't know, settlers you've got. It's a very inevitable way of winning. 2 copies of Slice in Twain is destroy target artifact or enchantment, and you get to draw a card. We could just play normal enchantment hate, which costs 2 land, but because we do have the land, it's nice to get to be able to draw a card off it. The more card filtering we get, the better, really. Got 3 copies of Negate. It's self-explanatory. This is counter non-creature spell. This is for control matchups. As you can tell, we've got a lot of stuff against control, but it's just yet another thing we can use against control. 3 copies of Spreading Seas. Enchant a land. When Spreading Seas enters battlefield, draw a card, and enchant land is an island. This is just another one against Tron, really. We just want to interrupt we interrupt what they're doing as much as we can, so we can turn an Urza's Mine into an island, and that should slow them down greatly. We've got 1 copy of Teferi, a Mage of Zalfir. It's got flash. Creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield have flash. That's actually not a big deal for us because we should have flash anyway. Each opponent can cast spells only any time they can cast a sorcery. So this is another one against control. Our sideboard is very heavy against control. River's Rebuke, just a 1 copy, and it costs 6. You may have seen in previous videos, I have been absolutely shafted by this card, so I thought I'd put 1 copy in. Return all non-land permanents target player controls to the owner's hand. Because we do have a lot of land, we can play this very early on, and a lot of decks just can't come back from having to set up their entire board all over again. It's a funny card to use, and I look forward to wrecking someone with it. It's mainly, I would say, against enchantment decks, or maybe a lot of creatures, maybe tokens, for example, or a lot of planeswalkers. It can do work. There's a lot of things it can do. And then just 3 copies of Tormod's Crypt. It's obviously just for graveyard. Sacrifice Tormod's Crypt, exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Yeah, that's it. That's our deck. I have called this Lizard Control because of the lizards. We'll see how this deck goes. I really am intrigued by it. I hope you guys stick around and watch the matches for it, because I think it could be a really fun deck. I just want to get 1 win with Ludovic's test subject. That would really make my day. So I hope you enjoyed this deck tech. The description will be below with all the prices and all that. And if you like what I do, please subscribe, give me a like, give me a comment if you've got any requests for decks that I can make. That will probably end up being quite bad. I will read all of them. I mean, it's not much to read at the moment. My comments are pretty dead at the moment. So, yeah. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.